The scissors snipped too close to my ear, and I jerked back, heart slamming like a freight train. "Easy there, cowboy," the barber drawled, his voice low and gravelly, eyes locking onto mine in the mirror with a smirk that hit me like a sucker punch. In that split second, under the hum of fluorescent lights in a dingy Brooklyn barbershop, I knew this haircut was going to cost me more than $15. I'm Jonathan Hale, 28, a graphic designer scraping by in a one-bedroom walk-up in Williamsburg, the kind of place where the rent eats your soul but the street art feeds it back. New York chews you up and spits you out, but damn if it doesn't make you feel alive in the wreckage. I'd wandered into Manny's Clippers that humid July afternoon because my hair was a disaster, wild curls framing a face that screamed, "Eternal grad student," and I needed a reset before my big pitch meeting tomorrow. Little did I know, the reset was coming from the guy wielding the shears. His name was Nathaniel Reyes, though I didn't catch it until later. He was all lean muscle and quiet intensity, with skin like polished mahogany and a fade that looked like it was carved by angels. Early 30s, maybe, with tattoos peeking from the rolled sleeves of his white button-down, swirling vines and Latin script that begged to be traced. He moved like he owned the room, not just the chair, his hands steady but firm, fingers brushing my neck in ways that sent sparks down my spine. "You got that artist vibe," he said, tilting my head with a touch that lingered a beat too long. "What do you do? Draw comics or some shit?" I laughed, a nervous bark that echoed off the faded posters of old-school ballplayers on the walls. "Close. Logos for tech startups. Pays the bills. Barely." The shop was a time capsule. Vinyl chairs cracked from decades of asses, the air thick with aftershave and the faint tang of cigar smoke from Manny's heyday. A couple of old-timers nodded off in the corner, newspapers crumpled in their laps, while a radio crooned Motown classics low in the background. Felt like stepping into a Scorsese flick, gritty and real, the kind of place where secrets got barbered away with the split ends. As he worked, we fell into easy rhythm. He asked about my life, the failed relationships, the city that promised everything and delivered heartbreak. I spilled more than I meant to. The ex who ghosted me after coming out to his Bible-thumping folks. The nights staring at my ceiling fan, wondering if love was just a glitch in the matrix. Nathaniel listened, really listened, his dark eyes reflecting the mirror's glow like they held their own storm. "New York's a bitch," he murmured, spraying mist that cooled my scalp. "But she makes you fight for the good parts. Like this." His thumb grazed my jawline, adjusting the cape, and I swear the room tilted. By the time he finished, my reflection stared back sharper, sexier, curls tamed into a tousled wave that screamed confidence. I paid with a 20, told him to keep the change, and as I stood, our hands brushed. Electricity. "Come back when it grows out," he said, voice dropping an octave. "Or sooner. For a drink. Maybe." His smile was crooked, inviting, the kind that pulls you under like a riptide. I didn't plan on it. But that night, after bombing the pitch, client wanted more millennial pink. Whatever the hell that meant, I found myself back on the stoop of Manny's, the neon sign flickering like a heartbeat. It was closed, but the light in the back room glowed warm. I knocked, heart in my throat, and there he was, wiping down tools, sleeves rolled higher now, forearms corded with quiet strength. "Knew you'd show," he grinned, locking the door behind me. "Beer." We cracked open cans from a mini fridge hidden under the counter, leaning against the sink as the city hummed outside. Talk turned personal fast. His abuela in Puerto Rico. The divorce from his high school sweetheart that cracked him open. The way he'd found himself in the arms of a Marine during deployment. First time I felt seen, he admitted, voice rough. Not just fucked, but known. I nodded, throat tight, because I'd been there too, chasing shadows in dimly lit clubs, hoping for a spark that lasted past dawn. One beer became two, stories weaving tighter until the air crackled. He stepped closer, towel forgotten in his hand, and cupped my face like I was something fragile and fierce all at once. Jonathan, he whispered, my name a prayer on his lips. Our mouths met, slow at first, tentative, then hungry, tongues mapping uncharted territory. His stubble rasped against mine, hands roaming under my shirt, nails digging just enough to mark. We stumbled into the back room, a cramped apartment above the shop that smelled of sandalwood and fresh linen. Clothes hit the floor in a frenzy. My jeans tangled at my ankles, his shirt buttons popping like gunfire. He was all heat and salt, body honed from years of hard labor and harder choices, pressing me against the wall with a growl that vibrated through my chest. Tell me to stop, he breathed, but I arched into him, whispering, don't you dare. We moved to the bed, a sagging queen with sheets that whispered promises, bodies slotting together like puzzle pieces lost for years. His touch was reverent, fingers tracing my ribs, my hips, learning me like a language he was fluent in. When he entered me, slow and deliberate, it was like coming home to a place I'd never known existed. We crested together, gasps echoing in the dim light, sweat slick and spent, his head on my chest as the world outside faded to black. That night blurred into morning, coffee brewed on a hot plate, lazy kisses over burnt toast. Nathaniel traced patterns on my arm, talking dreams, opening his own shop uptown, traveling to the islands with someone who got it. Someone like you? I teased, heart swelling. He smiled, that crooked flash, and pulled me close. Yeah, exactly like you. But as I dressed, phone buzzing with work emails, a shadow flickered in his eyes. Something unsaid, a fracture I couldn't see yet. I kissed him goodbye, promising to call, stepping into the July sun feeling invincible. New York sprawled before me, alive and unforgiving, and for the first time, I believed I could conquer it. With him. Little did I know, the clipper's edge had sliced deeper than hair. It had nicked the vein where trust bleeds out slow. Weeks melted into a rhythm that felt like fate scripted by a lovesick screenwriter. Nathaniel and I became this unspoken thing. Nights tangled in his sheets above the barbershop. Mornings stealing bites of his abuela's flan recipe he'd botch on purpose just to see me laugh. Brooklyn's pulse synced with ours. Walks along the East River at sunset, where the skyline glittered like fool's gold, his hand in mine under the cover of twilight crowds. He'd cut my hair for free now, fingers lingering on my nape, whispering filth that made my knees buckle. You look like trouble, he'd say, eyes devouring me. My kind of trouble. I met his crew at Manny's. Tattooed regulars swapping stories of block parties and bad bets, the air thick with laughter and the sizzle of takeout from the halal cart down the block. They ribbed him about the fancy white boy he'd snagged, but there was warmth there, the kind of found family that stitches you back when blood lets you down. Nathaniel fit right in, the steady heartbeat of the group, always quick with a joke or a steady hand on a shoulder. Watching him, I felt it, that pull toward something real, the kind poets die for. We ventured into Manhattan on weekends, dodging tourists on the High Line, sharing greasy slices at Joe's Pizza while he sketched shop ideas on napkins. "Gonna call it Reyes and Sons," he said one evening, grease smudged on his lip. "But the Sons part? That's flexible." His wink was pure mischief, and I leaned in, kissing the sauce away, tasting tomato and promise. Sex with him was a revelation, raw and tender, bodies speaking what words fumbled. He'd pin my wrists above my head, breath hot against my ear, murmuring my name like a vow. Or I'd take control, straddling him slow, watching his eyes flutter shut in surrender. It wasn't just fucking. It was communion, souls brushing in the dark. But cracks spiderwebbed in, subtle at first. Late nights he'd vanish for errands, phone silenced, returning with shadows under his eyes and excuses that tasted like ash. "Client drama," he'd mutter, pulling me close to drown the questions. I let it slide, chalking it up to the grind, his side hustle fixing bikes in a garage off Flushing Avenue, my deadlines blurring into all-nighters. We were building something, weren't we? Dreams shared over cheap Merlot. Me launching my own design firm, him franchising barbershops in the Bronx. "Together," he'd say, fingers interlaced. "We got this." Then came the whispers. A text from my buddy Alex, a bartender in Bushwick. "Heard your man's got history. Watch your back." I laughed it off, deleted it, but it lodged like a thorn. One rainy Thursday, post-fight with my sister over holiday plans, her straight-laced life in the suburbs a mirror to my chaos, I showed up unannounced. The shop was dark, but his apartment light spilled onto the fire escape. Climbing up, heart pounding from the downpour, I peered through the cracked blinds. There he was, Nathaniel, shirtless on the couch, another man in his lap, broad-shouldered, laughing low, hands roaming familiar paths. The guy was older, silver threading his temples, a wedding band glinting under the lamp. They kissed like lovers who knew every scar, every sigh. My stomach dropped, rain mixing with hot tears on my cheeks. Betrayal hit like a gut punch, raw and reeling. I bolted, slipping on the wet rungs, the city a blur of neon and nausea. Back in my apartment, I paced the peeling linoleum, phone clutched like a grenade. Called him at 2 a.m., voice steel when he answered groggy. "Who the fuck is David?" I'd scrolled his texts earlier, piecing it from fragments, late-night meetups, coded emojis. Silence stretched, then his sigh, heavy as regret. "John. It's not what. Save it." I hung up, world fracturing. The man I'd let in, the one who'd mapped my insecurities with kisses, was playing me like a side hustle. Sleep evaded, memories replaying. His laugh echoing in my ear, the way he'd hold me after, whispering futures that now curdled like milk. Morning brought clarity, bitter as black coffee. I confronted him at the shop, door slamming behind me. Customers scattered like pigeons, Manny muttering from the back. Nathaniel looked wrecked, eyes red-rimmed, fade grown out into a mess. "David's my ex," he started, hands up like surrender. "Married now, closet case. We hooked up last year, thought it was done. But he showed up, drunk, begging. I was weak, John. Stupid. Weak," I spat, voice cracking. "You call lying weak? Ghosting me for him?" The air thickened, words weapons. He reached for me, but I flinched. I fell for you, I admitted, throat burning. The whole package, the shop, the stories, the way you made me feel. Enough. His face crumpled, and for a heartbeat, I saw the boy beneath, the one who'd fought wars and family to claim his truth. I'm sorry, he whispered, stepping closer. It was a mistake. One night. You're the one I want. Rain pattered the window, a mournful backbeat. Part of me ached to believe him, to fold into those arms and pretend. But trust shattered like cheap glass. I turned, door creaking open to the gray street. Fix your fade, Nathaniel. Looks like shit. Walking away, Brooklyn's grit clung to me. Puddles reflecting fractured lights, horns blaring indifference. Love in this city was a gamble, high stakes and house always wins. But as I melted into the subway's roar, a spark flickered. Maybe losing him was the cut I needed to grow sharper. The fallout hit like a blackout, days blurring into a haze of takeout containers and binge-watched procedurals, my sketchpad gathering dust on the coffee table. Friends dragged me out to the Stonewall Inn for detox drinks. But the drag queen's lip syncs to Whitney felt hollow, their glamour a mask for my ache. Dump the cheater, honey, one quipped, fanning herself with a glittered fan. Plenty of fish in this concrete sea, I nodded, nursing a gin and tonic. But inside, Nathaniel's ghost lingered, his scent on my pillow, the phantom brush of his fingers. Work became my anchor, a freelance gig designing branding for a queer youth center in Chelsea pulling me from the pit. Late nights in the studio, surrounded by mood boards of rainbow flags and bold sans serifs, I poured the pain into pixels. It was cathartic, turning betrayal into art vectors of broken chains, color palettes of bruise purple fading to dawn pink. My boss, a no-nonsense dyke named Rita, clocked the edge in my lines. This is fire, John, she said over lukewarm coffee. Channel that heartbreak. It's gold, but Nathaniel wouldn't fade. Texts trickled in, apologies wrapped in vulnerability. Miss your laugh. Can we talk? I deleted them, blocked the number, but he'd show up in dreams. His body a landscape I still navigated blind. One crisp October evening, leaf peeping in Prospect Park with Alex, I spotted him across the meadow, faded jeans hugging his hips, a hoodie zipped against the chill, walking a scruffy mutt that tugged at the leash like it owned him. Our eyes met, a jolt across the grass, and he froze, the dog yapping oblivious. I turned away, pulse racing, but Alex nudged me. Go. Get closure. Or whatever rom-com bullshit you need. Swallowing pride, I approached, leaves crunching underfoot. Close. He looked haunted, cheeks hollowed, fade buzzed tight like armor. Hey, he said soft, clipping the dog's lead shorter. She's a stray. Found her after. You know, after you fucked your ex? The words lashed out, sharper than intended. His wince was visceral, hand scrubbing his neck. Yeah. After. Silence stretched, broken only by distant joggers and the rustle of oaks shedding gold. The dog nosed my hand, warm and trusting, and I knelt, scratching her ears, buying time. Why, Nat? I finally asked, voice raw. Was I just convenient? The open secret while he played house. He sank to the bench, elbows on knees, staring at the ground like it held answers. No. God, no. David was regret wrapped in nostalgia, the comfort of old wounds. But you're the future I almost blew. His eyes lifted, dark pools of remorse. I grew up hiding, John. Army taught me straight lines. Family expected the same. Coming out cost me everything, medals, ma's tears. With you, I was free. Then he knocked, and I panicked. Slipped back into the cage. The confession hung heavy, wind whipping his words into the ether. I sat beside him, space between us a chasm. I get hiding, I admitted. My folks still pray the gay away at Thanksgiving. But lies, they carve you hollow. He nodded, thumb tracing the bench's grain. I quit the garage, focused on the shop. Manny's retiring, left it to me. Trying to build something real, his hand hovered near mine, tentative. Like us, hope flickered, treacherous as a short fuse, but doubt doused it. Us was real until it wasn't. I stood, the dog whining at my departure. Take care of her. She deserves better. Walking away, his voice trailed. I love you, Jonathan. That wasn't a lie. Love. The word echoed through my nights, a buzz in my veins. I threw myself into the youth center project, interviewing kids with stories that mirrored mine, rejections, runaways, rainbows reclaimed. One boy, 17 and fierce with blue-streaked hair, shared his sketch of a phoenix rising from barbed wire. Burn it down to build it up, he said. Ice fierce. Stuck, fueling my designs, but also cracking open the what-ifs about Nathaniel. Thanksgiving loomed, a minefield of family tension. I opted for a solo turkey in my apartment, TV droning football, when the buzzer sang. There he stood, rain slicked in the hall light, holding a foil-wrapped dish and that damn dog at his heels. Abuela's stuffing. Figured you'd starve. Disarmed, I let him in, the pup scampering to claim my rug. We ate cross-legged on the floor, awkward at first, then easing into familiar banter, mocking the Giants' fumble, debating Scorsese's best flick. The dog curled between us, a furry mediator. As plates cleared, tension simmered. I'm sorry, he said again, but this time with proof. A journal, leather-bound, pages filled with sketches of me. Sleeping, laughing, mid-rant. Kept this instead of calling. Words for when I couldn't face you. I traced a drawing, throat tight. It's beautiful. Our knees touched, heat bridging the gap. He leaned in, breath mingling, and I didn't pull away. The kiss was slow, exploratory, tasting of forgiveness and fear. Hands rediscovered paths, shirts shed in the lamplight, bodies colliding with urgent grace. He was gentler this time, mapping apologies with lips and fingers, whispering affirmations as we moved together. Deep, unhurried, a reclamation. Climax shattered us soft, limbs entwined, his heartbeat sinking mine. Lying there, dog snoring at our feet, he murmured, second chances, John. We deserve one. Dawn crept in, gray and tentative, and for the first time since the fade, I believed in reinvention. But shadows lengthen, and some cuts refuse to heal clean. Winter clamped down on New York like a vice, snow blanketing the streets in deceptive hush, turning brownstones into postcards from hell. Nathaniel and I rebuilt brick by cautious brick. Mornings at Manny's, Me sketching logos in the corner while he clipped fades. Our feet tangled under the counter. Dates felt earned now. Ice skating at Bryant Park, where he'd catch me when I slipped. Laughter steaming in the cold. Quiet dinners at his place. Eras congandals spiced with stories of his deployment days. The ones that ended in dishonorable whispers but began with brotherhood. He opened up more, peeling layers like onion skin, the sergeant who'd covered for him during inspections, the letters burned to ash after mustering out. Army made me a ghost, he'd say, fork midway to mouth. You make me solid. I shared my own scars, the college hookup that turned violent, fists and slurs in a dorm bathroom, the therapy sessions where I learned to love the reflection staring back. Vulnerability bonded us tighter, sex evolving into something sacred, nights where we'd light candles scavenged from bodegas, bodies oiled and unhurried, exploring edges with trust as our compass. The youth center launch was a triumph. Rainbow banners fluttering in the wind, kids beaming as my designs came alive on walls and tees. Nathaniel showed, arms slung around my shoulders, pride radiating like heat from a radiator. You did this, he whispered amid the cheers, kissing my temple. Rita clapped my back, eyeing him approvingly. Keep this one. He's got staying power. For a moment, the city felt conquerable, our love a beacon in the frost. But fracture lines deepened. David's shadow resurfaced in insidious drips, a hang-up call on Nathaniel's line, a car idling too long outside the shop. He's gone, Nathaniel swore, deleting voicemails with trembling fingers. Blocked everywhere. I wanted to believe, but paranoia gnawed. Nights I'd wake to him slipping from bed, phone glow illuminating his face in the hall. Once, I caught a snippet. Can't do this anymore, man. I'm happy. Relief washed me, but suspicion lingered like exhaust fumes. Spring thawed the ice, blooming dogwoods in Fort Greene, and with it came opportunity. A headhunter pinged me for a gig at a Soho agency. 6 figures, creative lead, the dream. Move with me, I told Nathaniel over beers at McCarran Park, skyline hazy in the heat. His face lit, then dimmed. I'd love that. But the shop. Manny's legacy. We tabled it, tension coiling like a spring. The breaking point snapped on a muggy May night. I'd prepped a surprise. Tickets to a Broadway revival of Angels in America. Kushner's Ghosts, our shared gospel. But he was late. Text curt. Stuck at work. Hours ticked by in the velvet lobby. Program crumpled in my fist. Until I cabbed to Brooklyn. Fury simmering. The shop was dark, but his truck idled in the alley. Heart hammering, I circled, peering through the fogged window of the garage bay. There, Nathaniel, pressed against the workbench, David looming over him, not tender, but desperate, hands fisting his shirt, mouths crashing in a kiss that reeked of wreckage. Nathaniel pushed back half-hearted, murmuring, "Stop," but his body betrayed, arching into the familiarity. Rage exploded. I yanked the door, metal screeching, and they sprang apart like startled deer. Again, my voice echoed, hollow. David's eyes widened, suburban dad facade cracking. Before he bolted, tires squealing into the night. Nathaniel slumped, face ashen. John. Wait. No. I advanced, tools clattering underfoot. You promised. Said it was done. Tears hot on my cheeks. I grabbed a wrench not to swing, but to feel its weight. the solidity of destruction. Was I the bridge? The experiment while you waited for him to leave his wife. He reached. Voice breaking. David's coming out. Divorce papers signed. He wanted one last closure. I told him no, but he pushed, and I froze. Excuses tumbled, but they landed like lead. Closure? That's what you call this shit. I hurled the wrench. It skittered harmless, but the intent landed. I'm done being your safety net. He crumpled, knees hitting concrete. I love you. This is my mess. Not us, but love. Twisted, poisoned slow. I fled into the rain-slick streets, Broadway's ghosts mocking from my pocket. Back home, I packed sketchbooks, teas, the journal he'd given me, leaving it open on the bed, his sketches staring up like accusations. Days blurred into a fury of interviews and insomnia. The Soho offer a lifeline I clutched. Alex crashed on my couch, force-feeding me ramen and reality checks. He's poison, John. Cut him out, but cutting hurt deeper than staying. A week later, Nathaniel cornered me at the youth center, eyes wild, dog leash taut in his grip. Don't leave like this. Fight for us. Fight. I laughed, bitter. I've been fighting since the barber chair. You're the one who keeps drawing blood. Kids milled nearby, oblivious, their laughter a stark counterpoint. He pressed a key into my palm to the shop. Hold this. Or me. Whatever it takes. Pocketed it, walked away, the metal burning like a brand. Manhattan swallowed me, high-rises gleaming with false promise. Alone in a sublet overlooking the Hudson, I stared at the water's churn, wondering if reinvention meant erasure. Nathaniel's texts pleaded, come back. I'll burn it all. But bridges, once torched, leave ashes too fine to rebuild. Summer scorched the city into submission, heat waves warping the asphalt, turning Central Park into a steam bath of sweat-slick joggers and iced coffee vendors hawking relief. The Soho gig was a whirlwind, meetings in glass-walled conference rooms, pitching concepts to execs who nodded like they got it. My designs splashed across billboards by August. Success tasted like validation, sharp and sweet, but hollow without someone to share the skyline view from my new balcony. Nights, I'd scroll Grindr out of boredom, swiping left on faces that blurred into Nathaniel's, his crooked smile haunting the glow. He didn't chase hard after the alley. Respect, maybe, or shame's heavy hand. But echoes persisted. A care package at my door, abuela's cookies, crumbled but earnest. Note tucked inside, sweet like you. Forgive, the dog pics he posted on Instagram, her tongue lolling in Brooklyn backdrops, tagged stray hearts. I unfollowed, but the pull tugged, a riptide under calm waters. Fall crept in with equinox winds, leaves carpeting the high line in crimson confessionals. The youth center threw a gala, black tie optional, rainbow everything, and Rita insisted I MC, my branding the star. Nervous sweat beaded as I took the mic, spotlights hot on my skin, crowd a sea of supporters. Activists in sequins, donors with checkbooks, kids who'd found home in my lines. Midway through, introducing a spoken-word piece on resilience, the doors swung open. Nathaniel, immaculate in a tailored blazer over his usual tee, fade fresh, holding a bouquet of wildflowers like a shield. Gasps rippled. He'd coordinated with Rita, the sneak. Our eyes locked across the room, His vulnerable, mine a storm. He mouthed, please, and I faltered, words tangling before recovering. The poet took the stage, verses slicing air. We are the fractures, mended with gold, kintsugi hearts, unbreakable in break. Intermission hit like a grace period. He found me by the bar, flowers extended. You were brilliant up there, close. He smelled of sandalwood and resolve. Dog hair lint on his sleeve, a reminder of softer days. Heard about the promotion. Proud of you, John. I sipped champagne, bubbles biting. What are you doing here? Showing up. He set the bouquet down, hands free for gesture. Therapy. Twice a week. Unpacking the closet. The army, David, all of it. He's gone for good. Moved to Jersey with his kids. Starting over solo. Evidence followed. A printout from his counselor's notes. Redacted but raw admissions of codependency. Vows to break cycles. I was scared of losing the shop, the life, but losing you, that's the void I can't fill. The room buzzed around us, laughter and clinking glasses a buffer. I traced the flower's petal, thorn pricking my thumb, a drop of blood welling, stark red. You broke me, Nat. Twice. He nodded, unflinching. I know. And I'd spend lifetimes earning trust back. But if you say go, I go. No shadows this time. Debate warred inside. The safety of solitude. Walls high and heart guarded. Versus the terror of trying. Of loving loud in a world that whispers shame. A kid from the center wandered over. The blue-streaked Phoenix artist. Eyeing Nathaniel curiously. This the muse? He teased. And we chuckled, tension fracturing. Something like that, I said, meeting Nat's gaze. Yeah, we talked till closing, honest, harrowing, over greasy diner fries at 2 a.m., his truck idling outside like a getaway car. He admitted the freezes, the pull of old pains. I confessed the walls I'd built, the fear of being the experiment again. Dawn broke over the river, painting the east in pinks and golds, as we stood on my balcony, arms brushing. Second acts, he murmured, echoing Kushner. Or third. However many it takes. I turned, cupping his face, thumb on his jaw. One condition, full transparency. No ghosts. His kiss was answer enough. Fierce, then soft, bodies remembering the dance. We didn't rush to bed. Instead, slow unraveling on the couch, hands mapping scars anew, whispers weaving vows. Climax came quiet, a shared sigh, connection deeper than flesh. Months unfolded like a well-worn map. Him commuting to Clip Uptown, me consulting on the side while helming the agency. We adopted the mutt officially, named her Echo for the way she mirrored our chaos. Holidays healed. Thanksgiving at his abuela's. Her empanadas a bomb. Toasts to me Jonathan with winks that warmed. Conflicts arose. Sure. Fights over forgotten chores. Flare-ups from my deadlines clashing his long hours. But we barbered them down. Talks over coffee. Apologies etched in action. One spring eve. Rooftop in Williamsburg. City sprawling below like a lover's limbs. Nathaniel knelt. Not with a ring, but a key to a brownstone we'd eyed. Dual deeds in hand. Build with me? The shop. The home. The life. Tears pricked. Joy sharp as a fresh cut. Yes, I breathed, pulling him up into a kiss that sealed it. New York, that relentless muse, watched us weave our thread into her tapestry. Flawed, fierce, unapologetic. Love isn't a fade. It's the regrowth, wild and true. In the mirror of our days, we saw not perfection, but possibility. Two men, mended with gold, reflecting back a light that outshone the shadows. And in that reflection, we found our forever, not a night to forget, but a lifetime to etch.